we'll get started. All right, so this is desktop review. We'll start at the top left-hand corner and kind of move our way a little bit right and then down. So we'll start off with this little Eclipse button. You click it, you have your case management option, which just allows you to open a new case or a new batch if you get pulled off. Edit tools, you can also do your global replace here, just like you could in admin, as long as you have the rights. If you're a super admin, you have those rights. I believe case admins have that, power users do not. Reports, you can also run reports off that. Again, it's permission-based. Case admins and super admins have this. I don't believe power users can run reports, or they can only run a couple of reports. Exporting your data, you can actually replicate your case, bring everything down to your local machine. This is great for if you go on to a deposition location and you don't have Wi-Fi, or you're going to do it on a plane, or maybe you win the lottery and take a trip to St. Lucia, but you still have to work. You download it to your computer, you do your review, and then you upload your modifications to the Eclipse SE server, their main database, and then typically you'd remove your local copy, so that way you don't have it on your system. But that'll allow you to work away on off the network.
Okay, so then once that happens, so I've seen cases where they're going to give it to another person to work on, but like they said, they have to go offline. So this is the way to do it: export data, replicate, download, SE to local system. And it says upload local modifications. Is that when you have the case like on the offline computer? Then you click that middle one, or?
Yeah. So when you're getting ready to leave the office, leave the network, you download your Eclipse case to your desktop or your laptop or whatever. Once you come back to the office, you'll upload your local modifications to the real Eclipse SE case.
Okay, got it.
And then you have the option to keep your local copy, or remove your local copy, or keep your local copy and bring those edits down from the real Eclipse SE case, so that way they're the same.
Do they have to have Eclipse SE downloaded on the other computer, or whichever one they're downloading it to?
Yeah, this one will download it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to be on Eclipse SE. So like right now, you would have to have it on your machine because you can't go and download it somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Is there a way for the customer to work on, or at least look at the case without opening it in desktop SE, or is that in production?
So you can do
I thought they can like work on it without having SE. Oh, sorry about that. It's cutting out.
No problem. It's probably my system. It was being funky last time too. So you can do publish case, and you can work off kind of a non-Eclipse SE reviewer. So it'd just be kind of like this desktop reviewer, but with a little bit less functionality. Cool. You wouldn't have to have a license for Eclipse SE. It's just simply like a viewer, like an Adobe viewer. Those are free. This publish is free. And then that would allow you to send it to like courts or somebody not on your network. But you can't then upload their updates.
Any changes? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So import transcripts.
Cool. I'll have you show me that in production once we get to it.
No problem. Import transcripts. This again is permission based. You can import your transcripts here, or you can be in admin and import your transcripts. Settings, you can open a workspace if you have saved workspace. You can save your workspace if you currently like how it's laid out. You can delete some if you have too many. You can change your color. If you're getting tired of this blue, you can change it to another color. You can even change it to teal or pink or whatever you care. Then we'll go back to settings. You can modify highlight color. So if you do a search, it's going to highlight those key terms. You can change that color if it's just annoying to you. You can disable that highlighting. If you did persistent keyword highlighting, you can turn that off as well. Reset document views, so just reset if you don't like how you have it right now, you messed up. Scan session, that's for if you're using scanning and going into review. You can exit your case, and then you can also access help, our online help center, or see what update version you have for Eclipse SE. Right below it, you have your refresh case data button. That works kind of just like it does in your browser. You refresh it and it kind of just refreshes your system. So anything somebody's been doing in admin to update it, or maybe they're creating new tags or tagging more documents, this will make sure it kind of refreshes and brings it all in. You do need to be mindful that it does erase any non-saved searches. So if you've been doing searches but you haven't saved the good ones yet, do that before you do the case refresh, otherwise it deletes them all.
And then to save the search, we hit that plus sign right there, and it'll show us like the current searches we made, and you just save it that way?
Yep.
Okay.
There's one other way to save it as well.
Okay.
So you have your quick search bar. Again, this can be single words. This can be your Boolean search syntax if you're comfortable with it. If I just type in demand, it's going to find me all documents that contain the word demand. If I want to save this, I go to that search results. This red one is the unsaved one. It will give me a little bit of information of what I typed in, what the search parameters were. Right click, save search. I can make it public or private. Private means I can see it. Public means everyone sees it. If we've created search folders for organizational purposes, we can select which search folder. If we haven't, we can just kind of save it loose. Or even if we do have search folders, we don't have to save it in there, we can save it loose. So I'm going to add my search. We're going to just call it demand search. Hit OK, and now I have a loose search. I also have an ACP search. I think we brought it in earlier. If I do want to create those organizational folders, all I do is go to Saved Public Searches, hit right click, create folder, and we'll do Claim 1 searches. Hit OK. Make sure you hit OK. Then right click on that demand search, modify parent folder, and put it in the folder you need to. Otherwise, you just right click, save search, and select that folder. You already had them created.
Cool.
So these are all our search results. If you needed to do something more complex, if you're not comfortable with Boolean search terminology, you can use the advanced search option. So this first little tab, type of search. Do we want to do it full text? Do we just want to search our category fields, custodian fields, doc tags? We have all these options, and we can combine them to make some super complex searches. We can make super simple searches. We can do whatever we want. So if I wanted to do my demand one here, full text, all fields contain the word demand, add to search criteria. Again, that search connector, if it has nothing at the end, it's not going to do anything. If you wanted to delete it, you could. If you wanted to change this drop down to just be empty, you can do that as well. Right below it is include entire family. So if an email contains the word demand, but the attachments to the email do not contain the word demand, and I click this, it's going to bring in those attachments. If I don't click this option, it's not going to bring those attachments in. So it just depends on how I want to do my searching and what I'm using my searching for. If I do select include entire family, do I want to keep the family together when sorting? So if I have my index set up as a sort to sort by creation date and time instead of big doc value, then my attachments probably wouldn't be next to my emails. Do I want to kind of force that situation? I can save it before running it. It's on the bottom left-hand side. So if I'm pretty confident this is going to be a good search, or I just need to, get these searches created and then I'll delete it later or whatever the case may be, I can save it, name it, put it where I want it. If I just want to run the search, make sure it's a good search, I just have to hit search, and then it's going to bring in all my documents. So if you notice, search results, when I did just a quick search, it didn't bring in those families. So it only brought in 25 documents. In my advanced search, I chose to bring in those families. It brought in 55 because it brought in the attachments to the emails. If the attachment hit, then it brought in the email, whatever the whole family looks like.
And then you'll see it connected to family by the bag attachment right there, where it has the same number, like so that the second one right there has, GLX 82, 82, 82, 82. So that's all in the same one.
Yes, you can also recognize it by at the bottom left-hand corner, there's the case folders tab and then the relationships tab.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see whether or not that document is associated to other documents.
Oh, okay.
So this email does not have an attachment. This document does not have a native, so it doesn't have an icon there. But
Okay.
what it looks like is it's an email with 3 attachments. This job rotation, literary scholars, and ABC. So 83 is that Word document. 93 looks like that PDF. And 104 looks like a PDF as well. So I can see my relationships here. I can also see the beg attach and beg end attach and kind of see where it ends and begins. So this document 83, 82, yeah, 82 ends on 82, but the attachments actually end on 104. So you know it goes all the way down to here.
Okay.
In advanced search, like I said, you can do some pretty complex searches. So I can do custodian equals or does not equal. Rachel De Jesus, I can choose Starbucks too. And let's see, a good one. And word contains pay. And let's see, what kind of key fields do I have in here? And is well, we have doc type for those ones. What's a good one? Trying to see what would be a good one to do that I have like fields in. The creation date and time between 01, 01, 1988 and 01, 01, 2004. Again, I don't need to have that search connector be blank, but I'm choosing to just to make a clean one. So the custodian has to equal Rachel De Jesus. The document has to have the word pay in it, and it has to be created between 1980 and 2004. I'm not going to include the entire family today. Just going to hit search, see what it returns. It returns 10 documents. So again, I can go to case folders, go to that search, right click, save search. I'll call this De Jesus Pay. And now I have that saved search. So I can make some pretty complex searches. I can add my transcripts to those searches. So I can also bring in transcript hits. I can do just transcript searches. If I have a saved search, I can add it. So I can do maybe full text with search terms like this demand search, and then also add the ACP one. So I can combine previously done searches. So I can build even more complex ones or juxtaposition them. So maybe I have a really complex search and another really complex search, and I want to see what documents are in one but not in the other. I want to compare and contrast. So I can be search one, not search two. So it's going to give me all the documents that are in search one but not search two. I can do the reverse. I can build whatever I need. Stemming, that would be like running, those gerunds. Phonetic would be like there, and there. Fuzzy is great for commonly misspelled words. So judgment is spelled like this. Most people accidentally spell it with that E in the middle. If you turned on fuzzy searching, oh, okay. We will take a quick break right here. All right, so we can make as, complex of these searches. We can combine searches. We can do compare and contrast searches, whatever we'd like. Judgment, for that fuzzy, judgment is spelled without an E. A lot of people spell it with an E, including that Jim that says they're the judgment-free zone. I can't remember what the name of the gym is, off the Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness in their ads actually misspelled judgment. So that can be a great word to use with fuzzy searching. So that way you can pick up not only correctly spelled judgment, but the incorrectly spelled word judgment.
Okay.
Another option would be like last names. I had a client with the last name of Gail-Badakian. I'm not even sure the client knew how to spell their name correctly more than once. So fuzzy searching would be great on names like Gail-Badakian. Just because you're going to have a higher misspelling of that. So you might want to use a really fuzzy search on that. So that way it'd pick up maybe 3 or 4 characters, maybe 5 characters that were off in Gail-Badakian instead of just 1. So you do have some options for searching. We also have this new search button called Import Search Terms. You can have a text file that has a bunch of terms in it, and it will pop in those terms. It will pop in that query. So if you have a really complicated search that you got from an attorney or a third party, or this really awesome search that you run it in every case, you can import that search syntax and bring it in.
Question on that one. So I've had a call before where a customer was using concordance and they were trying to bring over like search terms also. Would that be the same way, or would we have to change it to the way like how we do our searches where where it says full text, all fields,
Yeah,
what they're looking
you would
for?
have to reformat it.
Okay, which they would do, right? They'd have
Yeah,
to do
they
because
would need
okay,
to. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Also, concordance uses like search 1 but not search 2, and that could screw up the query as well because that's not how ours function, more or less.
Okay.
I mean, you have the search history, but it wouldn't work as well because there
Okay.
wouldn't be any search 2 to pull off of.
That's
That
what I
makes
was
sense.
noticing when because like what they did was put it in a Word text, and all they had to do was copy and paste it. But when I was looking at the query builder, I was like, I don't think it's the right one, and that's when I got management involved and or escalations, and yeah, they said the same thing. I just want to see if you knew like a workaround or anything like that.
No, just gotta reformat it. I know. Not the best, but it is helpful if you're using other SE products or maybe
Mhm.
SE to desktop, those
Mhm.
kinds of things. So we did the search, advanced search. We'll go down to our case grid view. So I'm going to go in case view. This is where all of our records and our metadata live. We see it kind of in an Excel spreadsheet kind of format. Up at the top, we can organize kind of by record or image key. So if we want to see the image key or the BegDoc number, that's going to show us right here. If we wanted just to search by record, which is like 1, 2, 3, we could see here. It will give us the total of records in our database. If we're in case view tab, if we're in a search, it will give us the total number within our search. Font size, we can change the font size. So if this is too small, we can change it. We can also change the grid size. So how many records are displayed per page? So sweet spot is about 100 to 500. I find that anything in the thousands to 10,000s just take too long to load per page. And you really just don't need that many. I mean, realistically, why are you going to go through 10,000 documents on one page?
Yeah, I've had it where like it not necessarily crash, but take a long time for it to load. So then like yeah, like I've seen people do 10,000. So then once we load it on a smaller project, switch to 1,000, and then everything opens up like normal.
Right. And if you're only displaying maybe 4 fields, because that's how your coding form is, maybe it won't take as long. If you're displaying 58 fields, it's going to take a lot longer because it's having to load all that data for all those fields. One of our clients, Snell and Wilmer, like to keep on that 5,000 page grid or the 5,000 record grid view. That usually takes a long time. They're usually complaining that it takes a long time. We've told them then to reduce their fields they're saying, or just reduce it to 1,000. They say, we'll deal with it. So if you ever encounter that, usually that's their sluggishness, is they set their grid size to 5,000 and have, let's say, 58 fields loading.
Nothing's better. Nothing's better when they tell us like, nope, that's not it. You're like, okay, sounds good.
No, they do know it's it.
Yeah.
I used to work at Snell and Wilmer, and I
Okay.
know all of the paralegals who work there. They all know, and they're They're Eclipse SE admin. So
Cool.
to navigate through these pages, we can go to first document. We can go to previous document set. So like the new set of 500 and the new set of 50. Go to previous document, go to next document, go to next document set. So the next 500 documents or however you have it set, and then go to last document in your database. So in this case, 396. So it'll take me to that record. If I have maybe 100, then we can actually go to different pages. I'm on the last page, that's why I wasn't doing that. Okay, so we'll go to first, then we can go to our pages, and then you'll see this one begins at record 101 and 201, and that's how I can change my pages. In our search results, there's a couple different modifiers here. So we still have our font size, but it's all the way at the end. But we can also do a search expression. So this allows us to do a search within a search. So let's say we run this search, we're doing some review, and we realize, okay, this one was on the word demand. Demand hits kind of a few times, but I really only need to see demand when it's involved with the word price, right? So if I refine this search, it's going to give me a new results search tab, and it's going to give me all the items that were included in that first search run against all words that can, or all pages that contain the word price. So it's going to further drill down that search. So now it's going to be the first search plus contains the word price. Does that make sense? I'm just doing a search within a search. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the case grid view. To edit, we can just select the field area we want to edit, hit F2, and that field becomes editable. We'll notice that it's editable, one, because the whole row turns bolded, but we also have kind of like a highlighted box around the area and our cursor. Then we can type in our data. To get out of it, we can just hit F2.
What happens if you hit enter? Does it just go to the next box over?
If you hit enter, enter goes to the next box over.
Okay.
Unless you don't have permissions, and it'll skip to whatever next one you have permissions to.
Okay.
Okay. But it'll keep you in edit mode. It won't take you out of edit mode. If you need to bulk code, we can also do that. So we can maybe select a couple here, hit F2, F2, and then it'll bulk code. We can also bulk erase that way, whatever the case may be. But it allows us to bulk code, so that way, if we know all these documents are from Ariana Ackers and we didn't put the custodian in for some reason, we can then bulk code Ariana Ackers for the custodian or the title or whatever the case may be. That's it for case view for right now. We're going to go to record view. So some people are just not into this Excel spreadsheet workaround or work view. Concordance had slightly different options, and they like this record view better. There are some pros and cons. So like I said earlier, record view allows you to do spell check and catches those spell checks. Case grid view edits do not. So if you wanted to enforce that spell check, they need to be in record view. But record view gives a more linear view of your metadata fields. If you select this little button here, we can edit all fields. You don't have to hit the F2 button. You just edit all the fields you need to in this one and save, or you can do auto save changes so it automatically saves as you edit and then go to the next document. You don't have to keep hitting F2. You can code a bunch of fields at one time in one document. So a lot of people who were concordance fans, this is something that they're used to, and this is kind of what they prefer because it's common for them. So you might see that being worked on too. You can also delete a record if you have permissions to do that, cut out fields, create new records, that kind of stuff. Close this out. To change which metadata fields you have here, you do have to use a coding form, and it will only show you those ones. You can't do like a right click or change. In case view, however, you can change those metadata fields you see. We can right click, edit grid display fields, Anything on the left side is not currently being shown, but can be shown. Anything on the right side is currently shown information. So I don't really need to see the native file path. Don't really need the MD5 hash, SHA-1 hash, file extension, file ID, size, this size, that size, I don't care. Maybe you don't really care about revision number, source, don't care about byte count or application version or native page counts. Don't want the file path, hidden content, don't care. I can just kind of pick and choose the ones I really don't want. So that way it kind of clears up my grid space, doesn't give me a bunch of junk I don't want. I'm not deleting any data. I'm not removing any data from my database. I'm simply just changing the way it's being viewed. So I hit apply, and now instead of all 58 fields, now I only have like 20. So it might be easier for me to be looking at it this way. Another right-click option, we can do our sorts, ascending or descending, do a multi-field sort, so a multi-tiered one. I can clear that sort. I can wrap text in a grid, kind of like how you do an Excel spreadsheet. I can manage my search tabs, so I can close things out. I can
What
do
is that
search.
wrap text and grid?
And it works like an Excel spreadsheet. See?
Oh, okay. So it opens it up right there. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So it's just like instead of having to expand this out, it'll just wrap text. So, when you do an Excel spreadsheet, because you can't see all of it,
Mm-hmm.
it'll just wrap the text. Right click. You can split a document. So if a document maybe got accidentally combined with another one in your scanning process, or you have a contract in the attachments, you didn't do page level tagging, it needs to be broken up, you can split a document. I don't know if it's going to let me split this one. Let's try this one. Split document. Every check mark means that's where I want the new document to start. So I've now made 2 documents, so 175 through 175.3, and then the new document will be 175.4 through 6. You can see what it would look like after document split. You can configure it by big doc, big in, big attach. You can copy those document tags over. You can copy OCR over. You can do that indexing immediately or postpone it till the end. Maybe you have a lot of doc breaks you need to do. You can choose which metadata fields information comes over into the new document. It can be some, it can be all, it can be, none. You can preview the image to make sure that's where you want it to doc break. Maybe you didn't remember that it was page 4, so you need to go and make sure that it's page 4. Ensure that the extracted text looks right. Record view is just that metadata, document tags. See if those document tags come over, what you need to come over, what you need to tag it. And then you can commit those changes once you've verified that that's how you want your document split. And then you'll see that you have 2 documents now instead of that one. We can also do the reverse. So if you have 2 documents, they got split up in scanning somehow, but they really are one document. Instead of split document, we merge documents. It's going to take those 2, make it into one. Do you want all those fields to come over? How do you want to deal with that? Do you want to merge those document tags? So, wherever they don't hit up, tag them that way. Again, index however you want it. We'll generate a preview, and we'll see how that document will look like once it's combined. Same with extracted text, record view. Commit those changes, and then it will recombine that document. That is pretty common for people who don't do page level tagging. They split a bunch of documents because they need to have those different taggings, but because it's based on document type, they need to break up the document. View history, you can review history of the document. You can scan and insert a new document, rescan current document. So if it came in wonky from your scanner, you can rescan it from your scanning process if you have that Twain printer Twain scanner set up.
Mm-hmm. On that view history, is that only applicable if they put that history check mark on creating the case,
Mm-hmm.
or is it automatically okay? And on this history report right there, will it say like who like touched what document, or like say if they had
This
like changes
one
to
is
document?
just, here, I'll show you.
Okay.
So it'll just have like date and time and what action it was and
Hmm.
what field. So it's a data field in body. I made a modification at this time. What user was it?
Okay.
So it gives you the time, the user, and what they did.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get out of the view of case grid view and we'll kind of move this over. We'll talk about our tabs. So in our image tab, this is where we can kind of rotate the pages. We can zoom in and zoom out if we need to. We can do markup. So this is a pen. We can make pen marks to it. This is a highlight, so we can make highlights to it. Because it is not a text image, it is a photo image, so to speak. It's an image. It needs to have boxes drawn over with the highlights. It doesn't like see the words. So if we need to highlight here and then just to here, we need to draw two boxes. We can't, follow the bouncing ball, so to speak. We can change that highlight color by just pushing down that drop down menu and choosing what color we want to highlight. For our redactions, we can click the redaction tool, draw a box over the area we want redacted, choose which redaction category it belongs to, hit OK, and now my redaction's there. If I needed to do like a crosshatch, maybe it's not, maybe I'm a paralegal, I'm not quite sure about this redaction. I can do maybe an outline or a crosshatch, so that way my attorney can confirm whether or not that is what they want redacted. So I haven't redacted it yet. I just want my attorney to come in, look at these documents, and confirm that those are the correct redactions they want, where they want it, and what type.
What is that term by crosshatch? Is it just like so?
See how
Like.
it like has these like X's?
Mm-hmm.
That's a crosshatch.
Oh, okay. So just like that's like just okay. So that like you said, it's just like, hey, I haven't redacted this yet, but just want to confirm that this is what you want redacted.
So you can actually see the text behind it.
Okay.
If you just did the regular redaction, like a solid, it would be solid. You couldn't see it. You'd have to delete it and then
Mm-hmm.
reapply it. So that can kind of be a pain. So if you do it to a crosshatch, it'll be better.
Okay.
Text box, you can make a text box in here, make a note if you wanted to. You can make a sticky note, which are also searchable, which is really nice. So you have a sticky note, just, like your typical Post-it notes, but they are searchable. So if you put key terms in here that you're going to search again, or you're like, I made a note on here, I know I used the word complicated, you can search for those sticky notes that have the word complicated.
Okay.
You can move your document around the screen. You can scale your document, again, just a sizing thing. You can do a temporary OCR, it's called a zonal OCR. So you just draw a box over the zone you want OCR'd and it copies to your clipboard. So this is like if you needed to email it, put it in a pleading, paste it into somewhere, you've got that temporary output instead of being an extracted text, copy and paste. If you didn't have any extracted text in this at all, if you didn't do that OCRing, in admin or something like that, you can OCR the image here and it will be a permanent save and go to that extracted text part. Print, you can print out the document, print out the page. If I'm within a search, I can print all documents within my search. Right now I'm in case view, so go to these search results and hit print. I can choose to print out all documents that hit in the search or selected documents within that search. I can print original images or production images. I can include a slip sheet if a missing image isn't available. So if I didn't image that document, I can't print it, right? Because there's no image to print, it will put in a slip sheet for it. I can calculate the page count before I print it. So if it's 20,000 pages, I can warn people that I'm going to be printing for a long time. I need more paper. Maybe I'm not going to print this because I'm not going to print that many documents. That's just too much, whatever the case may be. Choose my printer, paper size, your normal printer settings. You can choose to print those redactions. You can choose to make them solid, outline, or crosshatch. You can choose to print your annotations and which annotations. Print search highlights. So Ariana Ackers was in my search. So do we want Ariana Ackers highlighted? Break print job at dock boundaries. So if you have your printer to do that like offset, you can do that. You can use a watermark on all these documents saying maybe not produced yet, see paralegal. Slip sheets, you can put a slip sheet between dock breaks. Endorsement types, I highly recommend all of our clients, if they are using this print function on non-produced documents or not producing the production image, map an endorsement of the image key, maybe top center, maybe in red. So that way, inevitably what will happen is you'll print this search with all these documents. The attorney won't want to look in SE for some reason, right? They won't want to look in the document database. They want it in a binder, and then they'll tell you what should be produced and not. They'll hand you back that binder, tell you what to be produced or not, and if you don't know the beg doc number, you're going to have to go through every single one of these documents in that search result and figure out which ones you're producing and which ones you're not.
Yikes.
And it's a big pain in the butt. I used to with concordance because I couldn't burn in the image key when I printed. Years ago, I used to actually handwrite the beg doc number on the documents.
Oh, wow.
So that took a long time. But it was helpful because in the long run, I could easily go to the doc numbers and just produce out there. I would just type in the beg doc numbers and go. So I highly recommend everyone burning that image key. If you're going to produce or you're going to print out non-produced documents, pop an image key. It'll save you like super amounts of time. You can put tags on there. You can burn in data fields. A lot of people will burn in custodian. Maybe if it's an Excel spreadsheet or they're printing out things that don't really have headers, don't really define what it is, they'll put like a file name on it. So that way it kind of tells you what it is, because sometimes it's like a Word document and you're just like, what the hell is this? And then it'll say for insert onto the web page in the About Us column. And that's the file name. So you can burn that file name and it'll give more information. Again, you can also email, same kind of concept as print. So you have it set up to your Outlook or server. You can send document and page details only. It's not going to actually send you the document, just the details. So you can go into SE and go to that document number. You can send the current page or the current image, so just that one page, and then you can choose what kind of image options you want, or you can send the entire document and again choose which image options you want.
Would you have to change that 1 megabyte size, or is it just literally just sending only like what's in that body right there?
It's sending the entire document for this one. So if that document's over a megabyte, then you probably want to change that setting. It's a really big document. Probably unlimited just to make sure. But if it's a really huge document, you might want to make sure it's not 250 megs, which has happened to me before. You're like, oh, yeah, that PDF's way too big. Extracted text is just the text within the document. This is that OCRable searchable text. It's not really containing any formatting or images. It will get those search terms highlighted. We'll keep those persistent highlighting highlighted. A lot of people use this to copy and paste or just kind of see a clear, non-distracting image of the text.
I've ran into an error too sometimes where like we do the search terms and it doesn't highlight. Is the best thing to do just to just re-index and then or try it again? Like say if we like
see if it, it's just an indexing problem. Make sure that highlight key is turned on over here. So that's settings, and then that disable search term highlighter. Make sure it's not disabled.
Got it. And if it is there a check mark that pops up next to it?
It just says enable.
Oh, okay,
if it's
got it.
disabled, it'll tell you to enable it.
Okay.
Yeah. Quick view. So this is kind of like a near native viewer, kind of the closest thing we have to what it would look like in its native environment. So this is the closest thing that an email would look like in its native environment. So you're from, to, date, subject, how it's organized, what it looks like. Again, you'll have your highlights for your searches and your persistent highlighting. You can choose to display that or not. It will have a checkbox here. If the native file does not have an image associated with it, you can TIFF on the fly. So if you just want to TIFF here, you can do your TIFFing here, or you can bulk TIFF in admin as we talked about the other day. Production history, this is if we produced the document with like a Bates number, maybe confidentiality stamps, the image will show up here. If we've done it more than once, we can choose which production job image we want to see. To go through the pages are just these arrows down here. We can undock these at any time, put them to other screens, float them around our screen, close them out if we don't really care about these particular tabs. To get them back, you can go to your default workspace and it'll bring them back. I think refresh will actually bring them back too. But again, you have to make sure that you saved your searches if you didn't save them all. Next, we'll talk about doc tags. So document tagging, pretty easy, typically an easy concept for most of our clients to grasp. So we're looking at documents. We're looking at document 11. We're like, you know what? This is attorney-client privilege. So we check that box. We go to the next document.
Okay.
Let's look at it for expert Dave. It's going to be part of our initial disclosure statement. And we just check boxes. I'm going to check a couple here. That way we have it.
So document tags is just like you're just tagging the document for like, hey, this is like, the checker right there. And then what is a page tag then?
So a page tag is based on pages. So this is page 1 of document GLX 15, right? You can tell down at the bottom, this is our beg doc number. This is page 1 of 4. We can navigate through the pages down here. Or just tagging that page for production, not the entire document. Then I could go to the next page. Maybe I don't want to produce that page. Maybe it's attorney-client privilege or something. Go to page 3. I'm cool with producing that page, and I'm cool with producing that page.
Okay.
So
cool.
The entire document may not be produced. It has that attorney-client privilege on page 2.
And I don't know if this is in production or importing, but then like if people want to import doc tags or page tags, what is the correct way to do that?
You would import through admin on the case management side.
Could you show me that real quick?
So we're talking about like big doc numbers and then their associated tags, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, or just like tag names. Which one?
From everything I remember, it could just be, I think, just the beg docs and tag name, or I don't know. It's one of those questions where like I just get it. They say that they're importing it and then they just need help doing that. So
okay, so
I guess you can show me both. Yeah.
Okay, so you grab your file, whatever the file was. I don't think I have a file with tags, so I'm gonna pretend to do this. So grab my file.
Well, what would be that? What would be a normal tag file? Would it be a text or would it be like a OLP?
No, it'd be like a LFP.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. I have to look it up again. I haven't done tag import in a long time. Then that select mode would be tag import.
Awesome.
I don't have a tag field or a load file that has the tags, so I can't really show you. But it would be basically beg doc, the import field, the sample data kind of what tags.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. Yeah, I just have that LPT. I don't think my text would have my. No. Yeah, I don't have anything to do that with to do the tag import.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not gonna have the tag import. But that's cool. That's how you do.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, no, I remember seeing that tag import thing, but then now that makes sense. Putting 2 and 2 together. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I need to go get a file for that. So we've done our tagging. We can also right-click on these tabs. Search. We can search for documents tagged with this tag or not tagged with this tag. So a reverse search. If I search for documents tagged, it's going to literally give me a search for all the documents tagged with this. I can save this search as maybe my production 1. maybe depot exhibits for Dave or whatever the case may be. I can also right-click apply. I can remove from my document. I can apply to my entire search results. So if I'm in a big search result and I don't want to, select all 500 documents, but all 500 documents need to be tagged with View by Expert Dave, I can just apply to search results. I can remove, so I mass remove it. I can rename my tag. I can modify my tag display. I can add tags, either private or public. I can refresh my tag palette, so if other people are adding tags, or I can reset my default tag palette to see what I want to see. Options, it's really just, do you want to prompt when applying tagging to multiple documents? So if I select 5 documents and apply a tag, it's going to prompt me, do you really want to apply this tag to all 5 documents? It's whether or not you want that prompt. And then expand all, collapse all on startup. It's just a matter of how you want to see it. Let's see. So we've got our doc tags. Any questions about those doc tags?
No, that was good.
Okay. We're going to move over to case folders over here. We kind of already talked about the relationships tab. We'll talk about the tag, or the tally tab in just a little bit, but we'll go to case folders. So those case alerts, case instructions, non-discovery documents, those are the things that were on that first tab in administration for our case when we went into like editing our case. These are documents we can upload to tell us, when a disclosure deadline is coming up. Case instructions could be how we review our documents. Non-discovery documents could be pleadings or discovery-related documents, so requests for production. They can be PDFs, TXTs, Word documents, just kind of text documents giving us instructions. If we expand out Francisco v. Pablo, we can see private folders. So we can create, right-click, create private folder. Let's call this Brits. And now we have a private folder. It works just like a traditional folder. You drag and drop items into this. It's not based on a search. It's just randomly drag and dropped things. This private folder right now, only I can see it. But if I want to allow other people to see it, I can manage public access and choose which users can see it. I don't have any other users assigned to this case, so I can't choose those, but anyone else who's assigned to this case can be added. I can make a public folder so everyone can see it who's assigned to this case. And then smart folders work a little bit differently. These are folders that work off a search. So we're going to create smart folder. We'll give it a name. And we can run it off doc tags, page tags, or categories. So if I ran it off a doc tag, maybe I want this folder for Smarty Pants to contain all documents tagged expert disclosure and witness Dave. Hit OK. And now every time I run this search, it's going to be like a brand new search, and it will give me documents that are both tagged for initial disclosure and Dave. So it's kind of like a mini complex search. It's just called a smart folder. Again, our search folders are down here. We already kind of talked about them. If we have search results that aren't saved, these are all the searches we ran. They may be saved, they may not be saved. You can right click and save them, organize them. If they're saved private searches, they'll be under here. Transcripts, I'm going to expand this out. We have one transcript in here, Bill Gates. We can see any annotations that were made in a drop down, any issues that were applied, any notes. You can just double click on that transcript by Bill Gates. Open up my work area so I can see more. On this left-hand side is just a word index. So it kind of categorizes numbers and words. I can double click on it and I can get to page and line numbers just by a single click of where that word conversation exists in my database. I can also run searches. These word indexes were typically in the back of deposition transcripts on your hard copy, and attorneys really like them. People just like it. just to scroll through here and say, look, how many times did the word December come up? Oh, that's just a lot. Let me see.
Yeah, that's actually really convenient. I didn't even know that like the transcript thing was right there, but that's awesome.
We can turn on auto annotate, which is what I prefer when I'm doing this. We can change the font size, spacing. So if this is just too close for us, we can change it to 1.5. We can bold our questions.
Well, what does the auto annotation do?
So if I highlight here, it's going to auto allow me to apply a transcript annotation.
Okay, cool.
So I just like it to where it's like I highlight and then I select my issue. I highlight, I select my issue. I don't have to, go select my issue, highlight. It just auto annotates it for me. It's a little bit cleaner. I can link to external documents. So if I want to highlight this text right here, I can link to external document outside of my database, and then it would be just like a hyperlink kind of thing. I can also do it to a document in my database. So let's do it to this ABC1. Then I'll have this, then I'll have this hyperlink document here. I click on it and that document will come up. So I can see that document as well as the transcript. As I make annotations, that annotation dialog drop down kind of thing will pop up with what my page and line numbers were. If I've applied issues, where those exist, if I've made notes. I can delete my annotations like that. I don't know what percentage of the SE population uses transcripts. I haven't seen too many of our clients, at least in training, use transcripts a lot, but I know it trips people up on the exam.
Yeah, I've seen it to where I think if I remember, I had one call that used SE for the transcripts, and when they were doing annotations on it, for some reason it's like they try to do two on like one of the pages, and it's the first line when they like highlighted the first line.
Oh, you cut out.
It didn't read it or something like
That's
that.
weird.
Like it came up with like an error annotation like on the front the first line of the page.
Was that
But
just a database
like
glitch?
it could have been, I think, because like I don't like I sent it into our escalation to look at it, but it was like one of my first calls in like 6 months.
Yeah, that's weird. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to see if I can somehow duplicate it and see what was going on there. To make notes, if I have like on auto annotate on, I highlight it, select my thing, and write my note here in that space. And then it'll add to that notes drop down. Tallying. We'll go back to our case view. Tallying is kind of cool. Let's tally for creation date. So I'm going to select this column, creation date and time, right click, tally. My tally tab will open. And I have it right now set to month and year. So I can see how many documents were created in that particular month. I can also change my options to see it based on day or year. I thought I clicked here. Here we go. So I can see 302 documents were created in 13, 2020 were 11, and I have 4 documents that don't have creation date and times. So maybe I want to check those out. I just double click and take a look. Looks like those ones
Go
ahead.
This also works for like searching for like how many Word documents are in the okay.
Yep, Excel spreadsheets are a big one. So if I did maybe doc type isn't a good one because I don't have it in there. I already removed my extension. Yeah, let me get my extension one back. Extension. All right, where did I move it? And Italian file extension. I could grab those Excel spreadsheets. I can save this search in case folders. Nope, it didn't save my search. Why isn't it letting me save my tally? I think it should. I don't know why it isn't. I'll have to figure that out. It's messing me up. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. I would save that search or maybe tag those documents
Okay.
not to be imaged or something like that. So maybe I created a tag that says don't image these documents and then
Hmm.
create a complex search that says image all documents, but not this particular search, not Excel's
Got it.
or something like that. You can manage, kind of all kinds of different things from Tally. That is it for desktop review that I think you'll need for admin. Any other
Okay.
questions that we haven't addressed?
No, that was pretty good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to tag some documents for production real quick, just that way we have something.
Okay.
Come on. There we go. We'll tag them for initial disclosure statement. For me, what I like to do is I tag those documents, I right click, I do a search for it, and then I save that search. I'm just going to call it for today's production. I tell people to put a date. But now I have a saved search, and then when I go to do my production, I can run it off a saved search instead of running a search. I don't know. I like it better that way. I'm a belt and suspenders type of gal. So I'm going to close out desktop, and we're going to go into administration. So not in the case management tab, but now the production tab. I'm going to go to create production, select our client and case. I'm going to go to search, execute search, and I'm going to load my save search, which is today's production. Hit search, and I should come up with what, 6 documents? Oh, I had that production shield on, remember? That
Yeah.
said
From
anything
yeah. Mhm.
that any document tagged with attorney-client privilege won't be produced. That production shield came up. So one of these documents violates that production shield. That document can't be produced. Do I want to export that list to a text file for viewing? No. Would you like to remove these shielded documents from the production set and proceed with the production? Yes. I'm just going to say yes for now.
Okay.
Clients may want to go and remove that production, so they'll hit no. Maybe they'll want to take a second look at all the documents they tagged, whatever the case may be. I'm
Okay.
going to continue for now. If we're sending out load files, we can choose the sorting feature in which we want it to produce. So it'll automatically default to sorting by big doc. Then maybe we want to start sorting by creation date and time or custodian, any field we want. We can do it ascending or descending, and we can do a couple different levels. So we'll use this search. These little circles mean only one can be done, and then these squares are secondary. So typically, our clients will want to do images and then export native and export text.
Okay.
That's typical. They may want to do a PDF production, make them searchable, and also export native and text, but typically they do the images, those TIFF files. So export native files, so it's going to export the native version, and it's also going to export that extracted text. We can make page level exclusions, so we can say don't include documents tagged confidential at the page level. We can do folder level options, so if we didn't want the folder to say images, we wanted to say image, we could change it that way. If we didn't want the OCR folder to say OCR and we wanted to say text, we could change it here. Typically people aren't changing it, but you can.
Okay.
Image file naming options. If we are going to put beg docs on there, we want to use this use production image key as file name, because that production image key is going to be that prod beg now. Use original file name. You're going to have problems if they're duplicate file names, right? Because you can't save them all to a folder. You can renumber everything. You can select a file name based on a field. You can remove delimiters. If you're checking that file name box, you can choose to remove those delimiters so it doesn't mess you up. OCR extracted text options. So OCR document if OCR does not exist because we're extracting text. You should have all your documents OCR'd. Maybe you don't want to check this box because you know that a bunch of documents will say they need to be OCR'd, but they have no OCR text available to them, so you can deselect it or not. You can create the OCR at a document level or a page level. I'm not sure if it's still true, but Concordance could only accept page level OCR and not document level OCR. But you can do it at the document level or the page level. Once we add our load files to this path will become available for us. So I'm going to select Concordance DAT. And now this box use path to text file in load files. So when we were loading yesterday in our load files, we loaded that DAT file and it had a text path associated with it. If we didn't use text file path in the load files, it would actually load all the text and it would be one ugly messed up DAT file. So now we have this new button that loads in that text.
Okay, cool.
Path instead of the actual text. We do need to make sure we add that field, obviously, but that becomes available. Native file options. So if we redacted a document on the image tab, that native, because we don't touch the natives, still has that text that we blocked out. So we want to make sure we exclude native file if page is redacted or otherwise excluded. Because if we give them the native, then we're also giving them the stuff we redacted, which makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
We
Yes,
do have
because
some
that's so
native.
they can see everything.
Yeah, it defeats the purpose. So we do have a couple native file options. Use production key for native file name. We want to do that. We can append original file name, kind of like the same thing for the images. We can choose which file types we give them, which ones we don't. We can put in a placeholder for ones we don't want to give them.
So,
Go ahead.
so that's where we would put that's where we put a placeholder. So, I had a call where like it was I forgot, I think it was a bat file, BAT or something like that. So then he just wanted it to where it just shows a slip sheet, right? Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah, it'll be a slip sheet, and I mean it can be any text you want. So typically, it would be something like native file not provided, image redacted, or
Got it.
something like that. So
Okay.
that way they don't think it's not just missing. If we just don't have a native file for that document, they'll run a gaps report and say, look at all these native files we didn't get. Well, if you have a slip sheet, it looks like you got the native file, but when you load it, it'll say, nope, native file not provided, image redacted.
Yeah, and then we usually that like, or not we, but is it common for like Excels to be something like that too? Because I know like sometimes when it comes into like an image or something like that, it does like 8 pages instead of just like a one Excel
So
sheet.
for the natives, it depends. So if we
Okay.
redacted the native, we'll have that slip sheet that says image was redacted. If we don't want to produce maybe the image for it, so we do like a page level exclusion or file type exclusion for the production, and we only produce the native, we'd select here only produce Excel spreadsheets or something, and maybe the image slip sheet would be like image not produced, or this file type was an Excel spreadsheet, so we're not doing it.
Okay.
Redaction exclusions for the text. So remove redacted excluded pages areas only. So it's just going to remove a chunk from the text file. Replace entire file for that text with a placeholder that says redacted file or whatever you want it to say, or
Okay.
you just don't include it for that file. So again, it's just a missing one. Best practice is to probably have a slip sheet there just to say that was file redacted. You could just remove that portion, which is fine too. Skipping an entire document, it's acceptable. No one's going to yell at you. It's just they might come back to you and say, hey, why didn't I get all these particular text files? Then you just shout back like, well, dude, they were redacted. But it might take you a while to figure out why those weren't produced. Then you'll be like, oh yeah, they were redacted. Output options, you got to give your production name. We'll do 2020-05, 27, plaintiff IDS, or plaintiff's initial disclosure statement. Production volumes. Typically, they'll say volume, that'll be the prefix. It can be any prefix they want. It can be PLF if you want. For me, my typical protocol is to do consecutive numbering. So every time I run a production, it's not a new number, it's a continuing number. That way, if I have to reconstruct my production history, or if I have to reproduce, or somebody says, hey, volume number 7's messed up, I don't have to go in and figure out which volume 7 of which production. I just have to look for volume 7, and I don't have to, like, find 7 sevens and figure out what it is going on. That's just
Okay.
my own personal preference. Some people just start back at 1.
Okay, so is that where you would change it right there? So say if we do 1 and then
Yeah.
you do another production, you would just change it to 2 after?
Yeah, or whatever number
Or
it ended on.
got it.
Output directory, where do you want these files to save? So you browse out, create a folder. I'll just put it in that
Oh,
folder
sorry
for
about
now.
that. On the starting index and then the width when it says 3, does that mean just how many altogether? So
Numbers
0,
total.
0, 1. Got it.
Yep. So I just chose an output directory. It's going to give me an error that this has stuff in it, but it should be fine. It's going
Okay.
to automatically pop an error log into that same location. Best practice for me, I think, is to keep this error log somewhere separate. Create a folder within this case for error logs. I say that because you will inevitably be in a hurry when you're doing production and
hmm
forget to remove that error log and produce the error log to the other side.
So you're
Now, you
saying make
shouldn't
a folder like inside of that? Like so like make a folder
outside of
inside
it.
this one that
Yeah,
says outside
outside
of
of
it?
it.
Got it. Got it.
For all your error logs for all your productions. Not that you'll have like huge errors. I mean, your production will be fabulous and perfect. But
hmm
in the case that there's some errors and you know what those errors are, and it's only because, you clicked OCR if OCR doesn't exist and it's just not a document that can OCR, it gave you a bunch of errors. They then look at that error log and think you're hiding something,
Okay.
that you're being nefarious. You're not, but you don't even want to start that conversation.
Okay.
So I save it other places. Max volume size, this really only comes into play if you're saving to a CD or a DVD or maybe a flash drive that's pretty small, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Typically, you're uploading to an FTP, so it really doesn't matter how big, so to speak, it breaks up. But back in the day, probably people are still using it, I'm guessing. You used to have to burn to CD and DVD. Well, if your volume production was pretty large, you'd have to go in and figure out where to split it and recreate and move folders everywhere just to fit on
That is
CDs,
yeah, that does not sound fun.
like 10 CDs or whatever. Then you would maybe receive that on the other end, and then you'd have to like save each CD and pop it back into the right place so that way the paths worked. I've had to do that. It was a pain in the butt. So
Hmm.
typically no limits fine because we're going to an FTP and there's not really a size limit for
hmm
that. But if you're going to a DVD or a CD, so if you're walking through someone through a production or they're having errors, this could be it. They're just hitting max size for their DVD and they have to split their production up. So you might as well have SE split that production for them.
Okay.
Missing images. Create images if they don't exist. Add created images to the case. I always say if you're doing this, add created images to the case. You might as
Okay.
well kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Create color images if you want. For load files, some people it's DLF. That was the one that brings in tabs.
Got it.
Um, some people just select all of these and say use what you want. There we go. Some people only say I'm giving you 2 of them. Some people, whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to select all of them today. Which fields do you want to bring over? So we automatically populate prod beg, no prod beg, or prod end, no prod beg attach, prod end attach. Then pop in your other fields. Probably application version, you can give them. Attorney comments, you're not going to. Author, big doc, big attach, those are your control numbers. You're not giving it to them. Body is the most important one if you're going to use a text file path, right? And you need to also make sure you have a native file path. Did I pass file path? So you want to make sure you have your file path and your text file path because otherwise they're not going to connect, right?
hmm
when you load it, there's nothing to connect those. So whatever fields you want, just make sure you have body and file path in your prods.
Got it.
Those are bare minimums. The rest is up to you or your ESI protocol.
And I forgot. I must have not saw. It automatically does the production beg doc, production end doc, right? The ones in
Yeah.
quotations are automatically there. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And then you can just reorder with these arrows in whatever order you want.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go to image options. So do we want to do single page tips or multi-page tips? Do we want to keep the original DPI or change it? Do we want to keep color, keep black and white? Do we want to force everything to color? Do we want to force everything to black and white? How do we want to deal with it?
So on the single page, does that mean like, say if there's the ones that have like the families where it's like 0.001, 0.002, if you do a single, that means it's gonna have a page for each, right?
Yes.
And then if it's multi-page, it's gonna combine them
Yes.
into the file.
So
Okay, cool.
one
Just
file
double
per
check.
document or one file per page. Is that different?
Got it.
Page scaling, do you want it scaled down? Do you want it to fit on a letter instead of a legal size? Do you want to do some image clipping, change some margins? This is global, so it does it across your entire production. So you need to make sure that if you're making a change, it's okay that it goes to everything. Endorsement options. So do you want those redactions to be burned in? Do you want them to be color coded? Do you want to change everything to black with white font? How do you want to handle them? Do you want to produce those annotations? Probably, usually not. Watermark. Do you want to burn a watermark onto it? Image keys. We want to renumber our image keys. This is where we're doing our production value. So I'm going to call this, what was our client's name? I don't even remember. Don Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm just going to call this Francisco as my prefix. I don't like delimiters for my prod bag docs, but that's a personal preference. So it's going to be Francisco,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of zeros, and my starting number is going to be 1. Any supplemental disclosures is going to pick up at the last number I left off at. So I'm going to need to change this number for every production. I won't change the prefix, probably, but I will change the number.
Okay.
I can change which font, color. For big docs or for prod big docs, you want to apply to all pages, not select pages. And then we need to map it. So I'm going to map it to the bottom right-hand corner. It's typically where these big doc numbers live. Oh, big thing. If you want to change how many zeros are, totally inclined to do this, right? That totally makes sense. It doesn't. If you look at this image key, you still have all those zeros. You need to use this width changer. Otherwise, it will not accept it. So there's a reason this little width thing is here. You can't delete the zeros. You have to use that width to change how many zeros are there.
Okay.
Tag options. Do you want to burn in those tags? So if it says attorney-client privilege, do I want to burn in attorney-client privilege to that document? If it's confidential, do I want to burn the words confidential into it? Now, if I have like subject to PO, but I don't like the PO acronym, I want it to specifically say subject to protective order, I can type in this alternate text. Maybe I want it all in capitals too. And it'll just reinterpret that tag. So anytime a document is tagged with subject to PO, that document will have a burned in text that says subject to protective order. And then where do I want it burned in? I'm going to say top left. I know it says subject to PO here. It will be this alternative text. And then you can choose which font and color, just like you could with your big doc images.
Okay, so when it says selected tag, it just says, so you're naming it to what it is, but the alternate text is going to say it's subject to protective order.
Yep. And so that's cool. At the document level. If we have page level tags and we've tagged documents at the page level, we'll want to do those. There's a tag that says both, so it'll capture both. So if I tagged both pages and full documents with subject to protective order, I want to be on that both tab and put it somewhere, right?
Okay.
I'm going to remove that one. So I'll put both so that way it'll capture everything. I can also burn in data fields, just like when we were talking about printing. I can burn in those data fields to my production as well. So maybe I want custodian burned in to the top left. Maybe I want file name bottom left. I can do that. I can also, again, I can kind of preview what those file names are on my particular document. I can do custom text. So it's not a tag, it's not a production number. It is literally just going to be pushed on every single page or first page or skip first page of my production. So a common one for me at my last law firm was not contribution, attorneys, size only, something like that.
Okay.
And then I'd put it, maybe in red and map it to the top right or something like that. Just so that way it was really apparent. But it's going to be on every single document that I produced today. It's not necessarily a tag. Kind of like a watermark, but instead it's, in one of these corners.
Okay.
Page layout, do match image orientation. Otherwise, it's going to push everything to portrait that shouldn't be portrait, or everything to landscape that shouldn't be landscape. You want to match the image orientation. So that way it's burned in nice, and as you're flipping through it, it looks normal. Summary. So these are all the documents we're going to produce. These are all those prod beg nos, or the regular beg nos, not the prod beg nos. If we want to see a preview, we just select the image, go down here, create preview, and it'll give us a little preview. So we have that Ariana Ackers custodian, not for inmate distribution, attorney's eyes only. We have a confidentiality tag down here from another one. And then our Bates numbering is down here that says Francisco. Our production settings, so just a summary of all the production settings we used. We'll go to produce. We can delay the start of our production. So if we want to delay it 5 minutes, 20 minutes, because our bandwidth is slow, somebody else is running a production, so we're not going to run a production on top of it. Whatever the case may be, you can change the start time. You can pick a time or just pick an interval. Okay. Production numbering, we want to make sure we write down or write back these production numbers to our database, so that way we don't have to manually do it or create that cross-reference. I do not have production beg doc fields in here. That's okay. I can just create new field, call them prod beg new. I can type. I didn't put prod, I put pro. Okay, prod beg no. I'll need one for my end no. And then I'll need the same for my attaches as well. So if I don't have one, we don't have to fret.
Okay. So this is gonna put it back into the case. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Prod beg attach, and then prod and attach. Where's my prods? I don't see it. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my.
Yeah. How come they weren't there?
Because they don't update.
Okay.
Overwrite existing fields means it's going to clear out any existing data if these were already created. Append will just add to. Okay. It is reminding me that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, you're cutting out, I think.
Say if I'm rerunning a production, if I'm just rerunning a production, I would just override it, right?
If you're rerunning a production, there's two theories on that. So some people overwrite it if they haven't already given it to opposing counsel. Mm-hmm. If they're rerunning a production that they've already given out and they realize they have to fix it or something, I would append, just so that way I can keep track of documents that used to be that beg doc number. Okay. Because inevitably they should be deleting it, but sometimes they don't. It gets mixed in, and then you're like, that's not prod 27. What are you talking about? And then you go in your database and be like, hey, you're using old documents. It's actually prod 875. Please use prod 875. So it's just a better reference, I think.
Got it.
If you haven't given it to the other side, overwrite it because no one else is going to use it. I mean, it's not floating around somewhere. We can save the template. So what I usually see a lot of the times is the admin will come in here. There will be an ESI protocol in place that says exactly how they produce it, what fields they produce, what load files they produce, all of that information. They'll kind of create a dummy production, and instead of hitting the start production, they'll push save template. And they won't actually produce anything, but it will be their template, right? So they didn't have to produce anything, but now when somebody does go to produce, they already have a template to use. So it's pretty helpful. In this case, we'll just start our production, and then we'll be able to see our production. Data already exists in this output directory. Remember, I told you it was already used. So it's just going to overwrite it. So it might be a little ugly. Exporting those 5 documents, we see our status. It's flushing the index and putting all that information of those prod bagnos and prod attaches, and we're done. Okay. Total 5 documents produced. If I want to go out to that folder on my desktop, wherever I placed it, yeah, put it in here. We can go in and see these are all my load files. Those are my images, my natives, my text folder. I can go back to production. Select my case. Come on. Oh, I need to refresh this. Sometimes it doesn't like it if I do it all in one session. So if I save that template, whether I did the ESI protocol or, and didn't actually run the production, or I ran a production and now I'm going to do another production. I select my case, come in here, select my docs. Oh, my template's not coming up. Come on. There we go. Maybe that'll. There we go. Okay. It just needed to refresh. I probably should just close it out. So I'm going to select my case. I would import my template and select which template I wanted to use. So I'm going to select that one, select my range of documents, use range for production. Oops, I don't want to see that. And it'll automatically populate everything I selected. You do need to make sure you redo the production name because it's going to come over as the same. You're going to have to change your output directory because it's going to come over the same. Okay. And you'll also need to change your image key because it's not going to populate. You'll need to change it to what the next starting number should be.
Which is like 6, right? Because we did 5 documents, right? Or it's what?
It goes by page.
Okay.
It goes by page. So if it ended at 555, you'd type in 56. So do that next. But otherwise, you'd be ready to produce.
Okay.
So it's really easy. If they don't save a template, it's not the end of the world. We have this production history tab. So if I select my case, go to production history tab, all my production history saved here. So I could just do what I did last time. Load production settings. It slightly looks different, not a huge difference. Instead of just doing just that name, it now says copy of, but otherwise it's the same. Yeah. Otherwise, it looks all exactly the same. You'll still need to change that number. You'll still need to change your path. It just says copy of instead of the other way. What kinds of questions?
What would you change the path to? Would you just open up a no?
Yeah, I would just create another folder.
What would you change the path to?
I would just create a new folder that would be whatever that day's date production was and what it was being produced as.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, what kinds of questions do you have in here?
No, that one's pretty good. I think that ascending and descending at the bottom right. Sorry, I keep cutting out. Yeah. My internet's being so weird. Is that a way like say if they wanted to go by date? Is that a normal thing too?
Yeah. So some people will sort by custodian and then by date for their productions because they don't want to go in beg doc order. Some people are fine with going in beg doc order. It just depends. Some people want their, load files to look pretty, so it's all one custodian in one section and another custodian right after it, instead of Ariana and then Ben and then Bobby or whatever the case may be.
Okay. No, that's actually really good. The output option one was I kind of had trouble with, but that was actually super good.
All righty. Well, we have training on Friday carved out. We'll use that kind of session for Q&A, come up with questions. Maybe, over the next couple days, you'll get some weird things from, clients calling in, and we can help you with that too, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a great